Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling and welcome to another video where today we are covering the Assault Terminator Squad. These are the Terminators, which are some of the most elite Space Marines that can be fielded, and they are of course fielded for close assault. They wield only melee weapons and eschew all their ranged weapons. The Terminator Assault Squad comes in at 185 points for 5, or double that for 10. They have the standard Terminator stat line, which is 5 inches of movement, toughness 5, a 2+ save, a 4+ invulnerable save, 3 wounds, leadership 6+, and OC 1. While it's very standard, it is also very solid. While they are a little slow to foot slog, they're tough enough to weather a bit of a storm before they make it to combat, which is good because they have no ranged weapons, and only can deal damage in melee. They come standard with the Lightning Claws, which are twin-linked at 5 attacks, ballistic skill 3+, strength 5, AP 2, and damage 1. A very solid profile, if not the most general purpose. The twin-linked does help it punch up quite a bit, though. Or you can swap out the Lightning Claws for a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield, which is 3 attacks that hit on 4s at strength 8, AP 2, and damage 2 with devastating wounds. Now this is a very powerful profile, very general purpose, but it pays for that by only hitting on 4s. Any buffs they can take that increase that will of course be much appreciated. Between the two, I'd say the Thunderhammer and Storm Shield are better because the Storm Shield also gives the bearer 4 wounds, which takes them from very tough to very, very tough. Of course, their standard abilities, when the unit makes a charge, the enemy unit must take a battle shock test, which is rather ho-hum, but could be useful to stop, say, counteroffensive. Then, Teleport Homer, you place a token before the battle starts, and you can use Rapid Ingress for 0 CP if you drop within 3 inches of the token. Useful for some positioning and pressure from the very turn 1, because you could set this up in a place where the sort of opponent has to go out of their way to do it, as if they don't, they'll have a huge unit of Terminators appear and could really wreak havoc in their army. Anyways, let's get on to their best use. So, of course, the main thing with the Assault Terminators is they get rid of all their ranged weapons. Both their Combi Bolters, or Storm Bolters, and their heavy weapons are gone, eschewing them for their main melee weapons. I'd say for the most part the hammers are more general purpose, but the Lightning Claws do have a place, especially depending on your detachment. But I'd say the hammer overall wins out with its devastating wounds and improved durability. And of course, the devastating wounds also complements the fact they won't be hitting as often by the fact that they'll often be punching through your armor, which is really useful against very tough things that they'll be wounding rather inefficiently anyways. In terms of detachments, they of course love the Inner Circle Task Force. The +1 to wound is very useful for the hammers, as they will want to be wounding things that they aren't, just fishing for devastating wounds on very efficiently. It also gives them access to full-on wound rerolls, which is super useful. Or if you wanted to, you could bring the Lightning Claws. With +1 to wound and twin-linked, they are very deadly against anything below toughness 10. From there, they will be really, really efficient at ripping apart things like lighter dreadnoughts and vehicles. In terms of attaching characters, a Librarian is pointless as he only buffs ranged weapons, so leave him on the shelf. A Captain is, of course, the go-to option, giving you free stratagems and reroll charges, which is, I'd say, arguably even more important for these guys, as they literally can't do anything unless they're in melee, which does mean, of course, that they really are very dependent on making that charge, which is also useful out of Deep Strike. Of course, as I've said, they love the +1 to wound from the Inner Circle Task Force, but -1 to wound from the... sorry, I completely lost track of what I was saying. But the other stratagems are also useful to make free, whether it be Armor of Contempt, reroll wounds, emergency mortal wounds, whatever it may be. Outside of Inner Circle, I'd say they'd really appreciate a Chaplain, as +1 to wound is very useful with both of their melee profiles, and the Feel No Pain is super useful to patch up their weakness to devastating wounds. And honestly, I think just running a big unit of these to dominate the midboard is hardly a bad idea. You could even deep strike them turn 1 if you wanted to, right onto an objective and make it impossible for the opponent to really take that at any sort of efficiency. Anyone that comes into contact with them runs the risk of having 10+ devastating wounds done if they have a Captain totally for free, as they can just reroll all their wound rolls. They of course love to fight the Oath of Moment target, given they're slightly more inaccurate. And of course, if you wanted to, you could run them in a Land Raider, though it would be a smaller unit that would jump out, and I think their durability is almost sort of wasted. I think that would be not what I would run them as. If you're going to put a small unit of Terminators in, put Deathwing Knights into a Land Raider, as they are more general purpose, as well as being more expensive. Though I'd say the one problem is their special rule is rather mediocre, and I'm not a huge fan of the whole battle shock an enemy when you charge them, as it really only stops the occasional counteroffensive or similar stratagem that your opponent might be able to use. I think overall, though, the Assault Terminators are a fine choice for those more inclined to melee instead of more general, well-rounded purpose of the standard Terminators, and for those that might want to run a bigger unit instead of the rather limiting 5-man units of the Deathwing Knights. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.